my fellow comic book collectors. It's Alan, the Comic Collector Geek, and Merry Christmas. This is sort of like the last show of the year, really, because after this, it's 2025. I'm joined with Mark from Suddenly Comics, my UK partner, and this is going to be a bit of a Christmas present to him because there's no Spider-Man on this list. So a bit of a Christmas present there. But it's a cool list, actually. There was a bunch of books like I was like debating on, but this one I thought had some pretty cool sales. So I thought, hey, I gotta put these ones on there. So yeah, so let's get right into it with the first one. There is one that is a huge steal.
There's a huge.
Um,
I don't
um,
know what
I
was.
was like shocked when this one sold for what it did. Is this it? There
Yeah,
was one.
this is crazy.
Yeah, this is the one. Yeah, this is the one I was shocked by this price.
This is just ridiculous. I don't know what's going on here. Everybody at Heritage must have been asleep.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big book. So this is Brave and the Bold Teen Titans number 60, is it?
Yeah,
Um, I'm pretty sure it's issue 60. Um, and this is actually the first titled book for Teen Titans. It's actually the second appearance of the Teen Titans. It's also the first appearance of Wonder Girl. So this is like a triple key. It's a huge book. This is like a really important book. Now normally even at a low grade, it goes for a few $100s. This
yeah.
is like one of those $100 per point kind of books. And now this is a 6.0 that sold for $114.
This is crazy. Somebody's got. This is probably the best deal of the year we've seen, Alan.
Yeah, this is crazy. I have no idea how this slipped by.
I could only assume there was no pre-bids on it. It came up to the auction. A guy had put a low ball bid in, and the people watching just didn't
Didn't watch.
watch.
I mean, this is crazy.
I mean, somebody could. I mean, this guy's probably doubled or trebled his money here, and on
I
the.
think I have a 5.0 of this, and I paid like 2 or 3 times what this is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Let's go straight to the graph and show you what we mean here. So the FMV on this is $300, and the last sale
oh,
was
so like $50 a point. Yeah.
yeah, with the last sale was $330. So for this to sell for $114, so just to give you some idea on this graph, it hasn't been put on the graph here, but it's down here somewhere.
Yeah, it's just like crazy low. I mean that does happen on Heritage, where people just, you snooze, you lose, and everybody can be snoozing and somebody wins, actually.
I know, but if I was the seller of this comic, I would be not happy with Heritage at all.
Yeah, I mean, this is like they shouldn't have. This really did slip by. I mean, this is kind of crazy, actually. I was shocked. So that's why it's on the list. It's the steal of the week, or year.
I mean, it's just incredible. I mean, I need to watch these Heritage auctions more because
Well, I always watched the Golden Age section. I never really watched the Silver Age as much.
yeah, there was a period when I had money lodged with Heritage that I was watching it on a weekly basis and picking up some deals, by putting low bid on.
Mhm.
But we've had a couple over the last few weeks where you could have got some real bargains, and this is one of them.
Yeah. Uh, if you look at the census too, it's like just under 600 on the
Yeah,
census.
really low for a key, first appearance of Donna Troy,
Yeah.
first titled appearance of the Teen Titans. I mean, this is just a crazy low price.
Yeah.
Nick Cardy art, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. It's like,
Good looking cover as well. I mean, when I first saw this, Alan, I went, that can't be right. Have I got the grade wrong?
no, it's crazy. I don't know. So just, I really do. I've seen this happen before where there was another book that I really, really wanted. Um, and for some reason I left and thought, usually you got some time between, like if there's like about 5 auctions, So I left to get some food and then come back and watch. And then it had already passed. I'm like, oh my goodness. And it sold like it was a book that normally should sell for about $1,000. It was a golden age first appearance of Hitler in comics.
Oh yeah.
Sold for $100.
Oh, oh. So that snack.
It's like, oh my goodness. So I just, yeah, that's, and I think that's what happened here. People, they looked away from the monitor just for a couple seconds, and somebody stole it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
There just weren't any there weren't any DC collectors on. They were all Marvel people looking for Spider-Man. Anyway,
Hmm.
dear oh dear.
Man, yeah, craziness.
Okay. Next one up, Green Lantern.
This one, I thought, I
Restore.
need something that can give Mark a little extra work. This one is like, a restored book. So I figured this is like you like this kind of
When
stuff
it's
where
not a blue label, I always end up having to do extra work. Right.
Mhm.
This is restored. It's a nice looking restoration.
Yeah. This is actually a really cool book. So this is Green Lantern number 6, I believe, or 7.
First appearance of Sinestro.
7, number 7, yeah. Yeah, first appearance of Sinestro. Now he's not on the cover,
No.
uh, but it is definitely a cool book. I mean, I would say he is Green Lantern's biggest nemesis.
Yeah.
Um, of the modern Green Lantern, I should say. Um, but yeah, I mean, just a cool book, really nice grade, actually, really presents really well.
Somebody's done some great restoration work on this spine. Look at that spine.
I know it's perfect.
So what does it say? So,
What is it? What is the restoration on this, anyways?
uh, it's restoration includes small amount of color touch. So that's all there is. I thought they'd have more done than that because that's it's only slide to C1.
C1. That means amateur restoration, but
Oh, that's
still,
a shame because
it's white pager too, by the way.
white page, and I guess somebody's just coloured something in on the green or over on this edge here because this edge here can't see anything at all.
Yeah. I mean, actually, had they not done anything to it, it still would grade out at a 7.0.
Have been 6 6 zones,
I think it would still grade at a 7. I
maybe.
mean, that edge is just perfect.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a
Um,
bit of
I see that one little thing at the corner there. Yeah, I did notice that.
a,
But yeah, I mean, this is a great book. $504 seems like a reasonable price for a restored grade. Like, I think that's a reasonable, like, not record breaking, but maybe
well, the last
could be. Well, it is a record breaking because it's
it's
the only
not
one.
record breaking. The last restored sold in 2022 in this grade for 631. So this is
Oh, it's
for
below.
this is
I
sold
thought
for
that was the only
$200
sale or
less.
something.
This is sold for $200 less. It's nearly 30% down.
Okay.
Now you're going to ask
Interesting.
what an unrestored seven is.
So really, like, you're looking at the right dot, by the way, there's two
Yes.
dots.
Yeah, I think so. I'll go back if you want me to go back.
Yeah, go back just quickly. Sorry to yeah, you have to actually click on the listening. You can't just press the back button. That's the weird thing about Go Collect. What was the sale?
Well, so it was 631 inflated 671.
Okay, so 631
So this is $200 lower.
roughly. Yeah, if you adjust for inflation. Yeah, okay, so week sale. I would have thought actually it was just a reasonable sale. I wouldn't have thought it was a week sale. What does this book normally sell for in a 7.0?
Fair market value 1450.
Okay. Usually at a 7.0, you're getting about 30 to 40%. So what would be the math on
I think
that?
it's a
That'd
bit,
be roughly, yeah.
I think that sale's a bit low. I think the 600 is more like the fair market value.
Okay. Okay, so a bit of a low sale. One thing I've noticed about Heritage and restored books is generally they don't do that well on Heritage. Heritage is a little snobby about restored books. I bet if you flip this on eBay, they would flip it at 700.
Yeah,
Where they say, "Oh, it's half price because it's
yeah,
restored."
yeah,
But generally, I find on Heritage you can get sort of restored books a little cheaper because they're sort of snobby about it, you know, about restored.
yeah.
So yeah.
No, we have talked about this in the past, Alan, and I agree with you. And it is a good place to get some restored bargains.
Hmm. But I actually thought this was a good sale, but I guess I was mistaken. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, very interesting.
Okay.
Okay.
Next
What
up,
was the census on that? Just quickly. Just I always like to know the census count.
1,000.
Okay, actually, that's a fairly high census count for that book, actually.
It's quite a census count, yeah. So next up, Alan, or cracker here, it's one of the ones that started the Bronze Age horror. Um,
Yeah, this is a major book. This list will be very DC centric, by the way. It just happened that a whole bunch of cool DC books came up.
so this is the first occasion on which we get the horror anthology with this gentleman here, Abel, Kane's brother. And I think we get Joe Orlando editing as well. And this is Neil Adams cover. Doesn't
Mhm.
say who the editor is. Mystery format begins. First appearance of Abel in the title, not the first appearance of Abel, and the
But
origin.
first in the title, yeah.
And yeah, great Neil Adams cover with a house that's sort of coming alive.
This house, did you ever see the movie Monster House?
Yes, you've mentioned this.
This really reminds me of that. Like,
Yeah, with these are the eyes and this is the
the
mouth.
mouth, yeah.
Arms. And again, we've got the classic Bronze Age horror of two innocent kids
Yep.
running on.
I
Uh,
don't know why it's always like these little innocent kids in House of
yeah,
Secrets.
yeah, and House of Mystery, it's just the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Witching Hour, actually, get it in Witching Hour as well. So what a great comic. Nice grade, a 9.0, 750. Now, I think that's a high price, Alan,
High price. Okay.
because I collect these things.
I've
Uh,
been finding that Bronze Age horror in high grade, only in high grade, has been performing quite well.
well, let's see.
Um,
Yeah.
but I actually would have thought this was a bit of a steal, actually. Seems like, but it's DC, so who knows?
So we're talking about a census of 142.
Wow, really low census.
Last sale on this, Alan, 450. So that is
Oh,
a
wow.
big record.
Major record.
Yeah. Lost
So
sale
Bronze Age horror, people.
November 22, so 3 years ago. But over 3 years ago, it's gone from 450 to 750.
Nice.
That's a big record. Excellent.
Big record. And that's interesting because we're going for records above COVID
Oh,
prices.
this is, did this sell during COVID?
Yeah. You
Well,
said 3 years ago.
November 21, is that COVID? Yes, just at start.
Yeah, that's COVID. That's the beginning of COVID. But so
Yeah.
yeah. So wow, so that's a very strong sale then. But really low census count. I mean, but I guess you wouldn't get it graded unless it's a high grade, anyways,
I can
right?
see a load of copies going in for grading now, Alan.
Well, yeah. Well, with this kind of pricing, yeah.
I've got two or three of these.
Are you getting like are they mid grade or higher grade?
They're mid grade.
Okay.
I can probably press one or two, one of them. They're around 5.0, 6.0.
Okay.
Might be able to press them up to a 6.5, I think.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, this is a cool book. I have seen that Bronze Age horror has been performing quite well lately.
Yeah.
This is actually not Bronze Age. It's the end of
Yeah, I
Silver.
mean, it's arguable.
It's
I count it as Bronze Age because it's the start of the Bronze Age horror run, and that's 1969.
yeah.
It's
I'm very technical about Bronze Age. Bronze Age is 1970 up.
So
So
I'm also very technical, and for me, it's the start of the horror anthologies. It's the start of the four horror anthologies in 1969. So we have a different definition of when the Bronze Age starts, which is not too far apart.
yeah, it's 1 year.
Well,
So
six
I'd be
months.
curious what people in the comments below think. When did the Bronze Age start? 1970? Or as
Or
Mark
July
says, like some arbitrary
1969.
date that
In
has nothing
July
to do with anything.
1969, around this time, we had House of Secrets turned into horror anthology, House of Mystery turned into horror anthology. We had Marvel launch two of their horror anthologies,
Hmm.
Chamber of Secrets and Tower of Shadows. So I claim those four titles all launching in July 1969 was a
Hmm.
symbol that the Comic Code Authority was losing
Was
it,
weakening,
was
definitely
weakening,
weakening.
and we had a return of horror because one of the classics of the Silver Age is there's virtually no horror. Um, so, whereas in the Bronze Age, there's loads of horror, and of course, before the Silver Age, there was loads of horror. So, for me, it's contentious. This is purely my definition, but
Hmm.
I think it starts with these four horror anthologies.
Okay, very interesting. Okay, what's the next book on the list?
The next book on the list is now. This is going to involve more work than I know
This
what.
is a lot of work, actually. So we got restored and a yellow label, and it's got the beautiful Stan Lee signature, which we
Right.
know adds so much value to the book.
Well, it did on the last one we looked at.
And we actually did on the last one, so
Right,
the
I don't
curse was
know where to
broken on the
start with
last
this.
one.
Right, okay. So they don't do a category which is signed restored. So
So you
we
got
don't
to
have to
kind
look
of
at
do a
signed,
little
but we
bit
have
of
to look at
detectiveness.
restored. So we're starting out by looking at
So generally, when it's like a high grade like this, you're only getting about 5 to 10% of the blue label version.
right,
Just so you know.
a restored 9.6 without the signature, sold in 2021.
Oh, that looks like the same book. Is that the same one at the top
Oh,
there?
it is the same one. It's the same one. Somebody's resold it.
Okay, so
So that
we
makes life
got
a
a
lot. That
direct
makes
comparison. We don't even have to do any work. It's
that's
right, it's
saved me
done.
from whizzing around 47 screens to work this out. So it's the same comic. So somebody has resold it 3 years later, and they sold it for well, they bought it for 810, and they sold it for 750. So it lost $60.
They didn't do so well. They didn't do so well. Oh well. And then that's with buyer premium, so they probably even lost more than that.
Yeah,
So
they
that's
will have lost
awesome.
more than that. Yeah, they have lost more than that. Yeah, they've lost $100 on this. It wasn't that not that clever a purchase.
Yeah. Okay, so
Would you
that
like to look
answers
at? Would you like to look at a not a universe?
yeah, let's compare it a bit because they bought it during the heights, right? They bought it at the worst time.
Well, yeah. So why sell it now?
Well, I think, as I said, I think a lot of books are coming to market because people need money and they're just selling something that has value, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good
I mean,
point.
this is kind of crazy census, like almost 6,000 on the census.
So a non-signed, non-restored, current fair market. Well, the last one sold for 5.5.
Yeah.
So
As
yeah,
I said, when you have it this high of a grade,
yeah,
you get really small amount
yeah,
of the value.
yeah. And a signed one. There are only signed 9.6s. Eight.
Yeah. Actually, it
That
looks
doesn't
lower.
that doesn't make any sense.
Wait. Assign 9.6. Click on that one.
That 793 must be wrong.
Click on that one. What is that? Is that the restored one again?
Oh, it's the restored one. It's the same one.
Okay, so that's the
So,
same one.
so that shouldn't be on there. Uh,
That shouldn't be on there. What's the one below it?
the
Because
one
that's the one
below
we
it
should
is
be
the
really.
2022 at 3.8, but the one before that was 3,200, 8,200, and the one before that 25,500.
Wow,
And
$25,000.
that wasn't COVID. That was before COVID. That's this one.
Well, I told you that there was Like before COVID, this book had spiked actually, because like there was all the Avengers stuff,
Oh,
right?
all this, yeah, Scarlet Witch.
Endgame and all that stuff. I mean, Vision was a huge character back then.
Yeah,
He sort of faded, um, but then came back during the WandaVision show.
yeah. Well, it hasn't worked out for whoever bought all this.
No, it hasn't. I still think this is such a cool cover. Um,
Because yeah, it's shame Stan has spoilt it, though.
what?
It's a shame that Stan has spoilt it. It is a great cover.
Yeah, I
But
I actually would have preferred if he signed it in the clouds at the very bottom,
yeah, down
personally.
here somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's such an iconic cover, and it's like it looks like he's got like spray painted across his chest.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Oh well, I
Okay.
think that's the fifth book. That's the fifth
I
book.
think that was the one. No, one, two, three, four, and then you got one more, Anna.
Okay,
It's a Richie Rich.
this one I thought was interesting. I was shocked about how expensive this book was actually. So this is Richie Rich Millions #1,
Is it another of
which
these file copies?
yeah, obviously I think it is based on the grade.
Yeah, file.
You just don't see them very often.
Yeah, file copy.
Yeah,
There's nothing special about it other than it's issue one.
yeah, it's issue 1. But the thing is, there's so many different Richie Rich series. Like this is not a special series per se. Like
No,
it had a fairly long run, I believe. But yeah, nothing super special about this book. But it is issue #1,
yeah,
and it's in high grade, and it's a file copy.
yeah.
Um,
It's my
uh,
least favourite of the Richie Rich ones we've seen recently. I liked the piggy bank one better, and
the Piggy one bank one is better,
I like
definitely.
the swimming pool one better as well.
The swimming pool one is considered to be the biggest
Yeah.
because it's his first ongoing title.
See, by doing this channel, I have learnt about Richie Rich.
Richie Rich is a cool character.
I now know the Richie Rich keys if I ever happen to come across them.
Hmm. So, how did this book perform?
How did it
I'd be
perform?
curious.
$780 for a 9.0 sounds a good price to me.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Mm. No, that's not it. So it is. I know it's a bad price. So well, this. Oh, wait a minute. What's this? Yeah. So the last sale of this, Alan. How much was that? Did that just go for?
780.
Oh, it's exactly. It's got that exactly the same price.
No, that's probably the same one.
No, it's not. It's July 2021.
Oh, so it hasn't changed,
It hasn't
basically.
changed in 3 years.
Wow. I'm not sure what to say about that, but
Um,
it's sort
exactly.
of flat. I mean, if you look at the trend line on this book, it's kind of flat anyways. It's like not a it's very dynamic trend line.
Yeah. I mean, if you take into account inflation, you've lost money. But
Oh
Alan,
yeah.
Alan doesn't do that. He's inflation.
No, I don't in a way. I think you have to have a certain level of inflation where all of a sudden things seem cheap and then it sort of kicks in. It's almost like a very delayed reaction with inflation, I find, the way people think. Um, so I that's why I don't take it into account. But I do take it into account if you're trying to make money on these things,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
But just in terms of the mentality of the community, I find that it's something that is a delayed effect.
Anyway, Richie Rich did not make his millions by investing in Richie Rich Millions #1.
Yeah, don't like if you want to be a Richie Rich, don't buy Richie Rich, basically. Yeah, it's still a cool book. I like it. But I wouldn't have paid that much for it, believe it or not.
No, I
So
would.
even though I'm a Richie Rich fan, so I can see why it's been sort of flat.
There we go.
So
So,
yeah, so not a bad list. Some I figure it's always cool to see books that we don't
well,
normally
we had
see.
a record low where everybody must have been asleep, including you and me. And I was literally asleep because those
I
auctions.
I wasn't watching that auction.
So those auctions happened about 2 o'clock in the morning in the UK, so I was asleep.
Oh, okay.
Um, and but we did see a really nice record for House of Secrets,
Hmm.
first horror anthology.
Yeah.
So that was nice.
So yeah, so in a way, like the standard keys didn't really perform that well, but pre-code horror, not pre-code horror, but Bronze Age horror
Yeah.
did really well. I've been hearing that a lot in the community, like when and I've been seeing it a lot where these high grade, like it has to be high grade, like the mid grades, no, they haven't really performed that well. But the high grade Bronze Age horror has been performing really well because it's really scarce.
Hmm.
You just don't find it because those books were read. They weren't really saved. The superhero stuff was saved in the Bronze Age. The horror stuff wasn't. So really low census counts. Hard to find high grade. Just the perfect storm for something that could go up in value.
I also think there's a number of the golden age horror stuff has really boomed in the last 3 or 4 years, hasn't it?
Yes.
So I
And
wonder.
this is the next best thing, I
So
guess.
I
Yeah.
wonder if there's a number of Gold Age horror people who've gone, okay, let's have a quick, so let's see what can I get for $800 in Bronze Age? And they go, oh, I can get a 9.0 of House of,
Yeah. And it seems cheap
yeah,
because, like, like if you're buying pre-code horror and it's like $1,000 a point or some silly number,
yeah,
some of
yeah,
them are like
yeah,
$10,000 a
exactly.
point.
For
Yeah.
your $900, you get a 1.5, and you go over and look at the Bronze Age and you get a 9.0. You think, oh, okay.
That's worth it. Yeah. Yeah. And their covers in the Bronze Age are pretty cool
Yeah,
too.
well,
I mean,
that
they're
Neil Adams cover is excellent. Yeah,
yeah, I actually really like that one.
yeah, and there's a number of Bernie Wrightsons as well, which are fantastic and really good value.
Yeah. So it totally makes sense.
It does.
Okay, so that's it for this week. But we got to go over to Mark's channel to see the top five. So go over to Mark's channel. The link is in the description. There's some really cool stuff there. I hope you check it out
And
and buy for him.
no arachnids in.
No arachnids,
had the
but some
pest
cool
control.
books.
We've had the pest
Okay, bye everyone.
control.